and I assume one of the chief scouts, was that the team deciding transfers and targets?
Effectively, yeah. I mean, ultimately, Alex had the say, and then we worked together. So I would have a normal sort of, go to Carrington every Friday. That would be a formal thing. Go through with Alex, which would go through, depends on what was happening certain times of year, go through what was happening on the players or go through on his issues. And we'd meet for an hour and a half or so, 2 hours, go through that. And we'd have a fairly simple sort of, set of documents which looked at each of the player, traffic light system, what the contract situation was, what the, various other things, and the youth team coming through, will they make it, won't they make it? And that would be the driver. And then Alex would be good at assessing it and determining where we need to look at. He gives the direction to the chief scout, and they go out to look for replacements or look at issues, and then come back. And ultimately, coming into the summer, obviously sometimes in the winter when we bought, say, Patrice and Nemanja, but by and large we try to do more of the business in the summer. He would say, right, those are our key targets, and then it was up to me. It's changed slightly now because sporting directors have come in, and the whole how should you put it, those areas are expanded clearly. But I was doing those deals, and I'd have legal support if necessary. And
so you'd reach out to the club.
Yeah, reach out to the club, exactly. And contact them.
A phone call, chairman.
Yeah. Just saying what's interested, what's going on, and then and each deal was sort of the same, but also slightly different. And there are certain players there might be competition for and more difficult to get. Clearly, other players we knew we would get to. So, for example, the sort of I remember just on that as a funny story, because Peter Kenyon was the chief exec at the time, and we were looking at Rio. So we made an offer for to Leeds. Peter Ridsdale was the chairman at the time, and you probably heard this story. Anyway, so I went over to Peter Kenyon's house, which is in the sort of in the Cheshire countryside, and Peter Ridsdale was coming over, and so we'd faxed him an offer for Rio, and Peter Ridsdale responded, "Well, that might buy his right leg," and that was it. You see, so. Wow. So each different, and I think how you use the agents, how you work with other clubs, and this, that, and the other. But that was the basis of the way we're doing it. But ultimately, to your question, Alex had the final say, quite rightly, and he was the expert.
So like what would now be 4 or 5 different people's jobs?
Well, I think it's certainly expanded and things like that. I think it looks like certain clubs have much more of a collegiate way to determining who comes in and this, that, and the other. And then you have the sporting director working presumably with the finance director, with the legal director to put it all in. And that, whether it's because it's more complicated now or whatever, I don't know. But ultimately, that was a key aspect of my job, was to actually bring someone in. And Rio was always very interested. I used to get these texts, "Hi, Mr. Gill, who are we bringing in? Who are we bringing in?" during the winter. And I said, which is good, because I mean, 2 things. One, I couldn't tell him because, whatever. But B, it demonstrated, to me, the players were really interested, wanted to know how the team was improving, what we were doing. And that's what we wanted.
When did that negotiation begin? You don't wait till the window opens, surely.
No. It depends on certain ones. You complete it. No, some of you may do. I mean, depends, because it was always fluid. But the actual detailed negotiation, buttoning it down, was could be after. So, for example, Michael Carrick, for example, we bought from Spurs. I spoke to Daniel Levy. We'd identified him, but I spoke to him at the Premier League meeting that summer, early early June, and said, "Look, we're interested in Michael." And as with Daniel, it took 3 months to do, but we got it done. So, so each of them are different, is what I'm saying, and you can prepare them. But
I feel so late still.
We would try to do it quicker. Yeah, we would try to do it. We'd have our ducks in a row, so we would know what our strategy was, what the targets were. We'd have the approach we were going to take, the broad parameters of the deal, whether it be on the player wages, whether it be on the transfer fee. We had rules on agents, what we would pay agents at the time, which we adhered to. So all of that. So it wasn't as if you were starting straight away. You had the ducks in a row, but actually then triggering the process might be delayed. It depends. It would be slightly easier, because that's when it's a domestic transfer. I think it's slightly different to a foreign transfer, because you could easily ring up another club, in Spain or Italy and say about it. I don't think that would really impact the 2 seasons. But we suddenly rang up Spurs with 4 games to go and say, "What about Michael Carrick?" It might be a bit more problematic, I think.
It's mad. Going back to your point about asking about players, we won a Champions League, and just as I was walking into the party afterwards, when we were in 2008, I saw you, didn't I? And I
Yeah.
said to him, look, come on, Mr. Go, who are you buying?
Yeah.
I need to know. And you went like, just go and have a party, man. And relax yourself. Go and enjoy it. And I was like, just give me one, please, one.
No,
name.
That was when we brought Berber in deadline day as well. wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I like, you know, as I say, I like that, and I think if you look at the character of the players there, not necessarily as sort of open as Rio, but a lot of them, you know, I'm sure they're all very interested in what we're bringing, and the best players like the squad to be strengthened, you know, and they like to be challenged, and they always want to know who's going to come in, who's going to get better, and the best players, you would know much better than me, you can tell me, I never felt were worried about their place or their number of games, and in the way that Alex Ferguson managed the squad, the sheer number of games meant you were going to get, you know, there's a certain 11, but all players will get a good slug of games during the year, wouldn't they?
There was a good core of players who
Correct.
probably knew they were going to play.
Yeah.
And they would be the ones probably that would drive wanting to know and wouldn't be fearful of who's coming when.
Correct.
And players on the periphery would be like, okay, hopefully someone will come in my position. Do you know what I mean?